Welcome to LA Times Live at Sundance Film Festival, presented by Chase Sapphire. We're here today with the cast of Sunlit Night. They're right over there. And portions of this conversation will be available on our podcast, which is called The Real, and you can check that out at latimes.com/thereal. So let's welcome our cast and director. First, we have director David Wnendt. Okay, and we have star Jenny Slate, also producer, right? Zach Galifianakis. Screenwriter Rebecca Dienerstein. Is that how I say it? And Alex Sharp. Hi, guys. So how was the premiere, first of all?
It was wonderful. The premiere was very, very fun and sweet, and, you know, it's always nice to... We have so many members of our crew here, which I think is a testament to how much fun we had on set in New York and in Norway. And, yeah, it felt a little bit like a... like a wedding. And, you know, it's like sweet and romantic, but yeah.
Rebecca, talk to me about how this story came to be. It's like a really eccentric piece of work, and I'm wondering where the origins of it were.
The eccentricity starts, I guess, in the fact of the Arctic, which is a crazy place. It's preposterously extreme, and these mountains go right into the fjord water, and the fjord water looks like it's in the Bahamas. It's turquoise, but it's frigid, and nothing lines up. And I moved there after college to write a book of poems, actually, about the 24 hours of light that they get during the summer and the 24 hours of darkness in the winter. And I found pretty quickly that when you're living alone in a former insane asylum on an island in the Norwegian Sea, there's just nothing to do but write more. So I tried to also write a novel that became this novel, and that's what took us here today.
How did you end up writing poetry in this place?
How didn't I wind up writing poetry? I mean, the place itself is a piece of poetry, so it was just asking me to try to deserve it. I mean, it begs for poetry.
Jenny, I'm not sure everyone here has seen the movie. Do you want to kind of describe what it's about?
Sure. There are many intersecting storylines, and they do come together in what I sometimes like to call a cosmic asterisk in the Arctic. And I also call Becky a cosmic asterisk because she somehow connects like a million different people and experiences in a way that feels a little bit witchy. In fact, she and I just met randomly in a park, which is like a whole other thing. But basically, I should start with my character because that's the one I'm the closest to, I guess. I play a woman named Frances who... when she's sort of tanking in her graduate program, she's a visual artist, and her romance falls apart, and her family life becomes very troubled and fraught. She sort of realizes that she hasn't made very many choices about who she specifically is, and as David has put it, has been living in a lot of other people's lives, and that her life is a life of living in other people's decisions and other people's spaces. And the one last option that she has to make art at this point is to become the apprentice to a sort of disgraced Norwegian artist who's been commissioned by the government to paint a barn yellow. And it's her only option, and so it's her best option. And she goes to Norway knowing nothing. And
then she runs into Alex's character.
Right.
He can pick it up there.
Yeah, that's cool. Take it away.
My character is originally from Russia, but lives in Brooklyn with his father. And when he loses his father, he goes on this incredible journey to the top of the world to put his father to rest there, because that was a request that he wanted to honor. And his father, Yasha, it felt like his dad was like home, and he'd lost that, and so he was kind of oddly on this quest, or like maybe when he put his father to rest, he was then truly felt like homeless and lost, and like a sort of a drifting soul. And he meets another drifting soul in a scenario where there are multiple drifting souls.
And also a would-be Viking, played by Zach. Yes.
This is my first panel. Yes, I play a wannabe Viking that's from Ohio, but lives in Norway. And he kind of gets love-struck a little bit by Yasha's mom. I have a little love story in it, too. So, yeah.
At the very end, I like that.
At the very end, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
there's
around,
a
guys.
couple love stories in that movie. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. If you're a little like, am I going to see this or not? I have 2 love stories in the movie.
So, Alex, what brought you to the project? Was it alone, the fact that you guys got to shoot in, like, the most beautiful place ever?
Was it to Alex or to me? Just to be sure.
Sorry, to you, David. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? I was like mesmerized by Zach, so now we have to like repeat it again for me one more time.
What drew you to directing this, and was it the fact that it was so beautiful just in the countryside alone?
Well, I mean, to actually go there and to see how it is, that was like the second step. Like the first was like Rebecca's novel and her script, basically, and I really liked the poetry of it, the delicacy, but also the humor that was there, basically, in the dialogue and the characters. And for me, it was like a challenge to think about like how to transfer this written poetry into to images, basically. And the second step was then to actually like meet them and like to figure out a way to shoot together. And like they were so wonderful that there was no turning back for me afterwards. And then the third step was actually going like above the Arctic Circle to Lofoten to like see for myself like how it is and like how what locations are there. And like it's like fictionalized, but like many things really are there. So there in the movie, there's like this strange Viking museum up there, and like that's where Mr. Galifianakis is employed. And this museum actually exists basically, and they have like in the middle of nowhere in the Arctic like this huge Viking longhouse they reconstructed, and this spectacular Viking movie they show there to tourists. So that was very interesting, and was of course important to really adapt it into like a film.
Yeah. How did you guys get acquainted with the landscape there? And because it's pretty remote, did that change the vibe of filming, or like the focus of it?
We filmed overnight because we were filming during the 24 hours of light season, so the sun never set, but it comes closest to the horizon between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., so it kind of looks like a combination of sunrise and sunset, and we wanted to capture those colors. So we were working between 7 p.m. at night and 7 a.m. in the morning, and then we'd have some beers at 8 a.m., and I've never done that before. It felt...
You haven't?
You have. It was new for me, and I really loved it.
It's a good way to start the day, not end it.
That schedule seems insane. Like, how did you guys adjust to that?
Well, I mean, the good thing is like the sun was actually there, basically. So it was like just strange that when you went to bed, the sun was actually going more up in a way, basically. But like shooting at night was really possible because you had like daylight the whole time.
It was sort of. I mean, I felt like my internal clock kind of just like strolled away. I didn't feel weird about it, and I do tend to. I can fall asleep though in the day. I don't. Sometimes I sleep with the light on even. So maybe I was a really good candidate for that. But we worked consistently and really hard. So we would have a full day, and then would just go to sleep and work again. It really just was a very set rhythm, and I thought it felt really good. But it is super weird to look up at the sky and be like, it's 3:15 p.m., right? And then you realize it's like, 11:49 p.m., and it just always looks like the afternoon.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big theme in the movie, how the light or the darkness affects sort of our state of minds. Did you guys find yourself analyzing the way your thoughts were changing?
I actually did, yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of reasons why this film is incredibly meaningful to me. And because part of it just represents me taking the right kind of risks so that I can grow as an artist, but also become a confident adult. I mean, even at 36, I work on becoming a confident adult. And all of the decisions I made were because, like, they felt good. And because I want to be someone that does beautiful things and does them from my heart. And when we were there, and it's truly like the sunlight can blow you open. You can't, you're just there. You're there in the light. And I really had nothing to examine but myself, my work habits, and like how my body worked. And it was a real, it was a turning point for me. I've got to say, I think this movie grew me up. I think I came back a lot more mature and steady. And this movie will always be precious to me for many reasons. But yeah, it taught me how to be a better actress and better adult.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Zach, your character is like pretty funky in this, I would say. You get to wear some really cool clothes, and like, did you change your beard up a little bit?
No, I think it was my... No, I don't think we did a lot of beard work. Okay. I think I shaved half my hair off.
Oh, wow.
Because that's the style. That's right. That's the Viking style. And I got to wear a lot of pretty authentic Viking clothes. And there's people in I think it's Sweden, that still make Viking clothes for people that might have a Viking fetish or something like that.
Yeah. I hear that they're in like Iceland, you can take Viking portraits. Yeah. So did you delve into that world of like Viking obsession?
Well, some of the extras were Viking. They've kind of dropped out of society to become modern day Vikings.
What does that entail?
Well, one of the Vikings made me a really nice knit hat. He knitted it for me, and this is a guy that, like, if you've seen the movie, it's the guy I'm fighting with. So he's this really hulky. He's actually really beautiful. Really.
He was really handsome.
Beautiful body.
Wow.
Very svelte. Anyway, he knitted me a hat, and then I was really moved by it. I was like, wow, where did you learn how to do this? This is amazing. He's like, YouTube. So Vikings go on YouTube now. That's the difference. Yeah.
Alex, your character works in a bakery that made some very delectable looking treats. Did you learn how to bake at all?
I did, actually. Yeah. It was where we shot was where I learned. This bakery in
eating bread
in Brooklyn, and David and I went there before we started shooting those scenes, and the two bakers who worked there were very, very generous and spent a lot of time pretending not to find me unbelievably tedious and teaching me. It took me like literally 4 hours to learn how to do one of the little roll things that they do, like about 3 in every 5 seconds. Like they were a machine, but they only work at night. So we were there. We'd go in at night. It was kind of a cool experience.
So you guys are like completely nocturnal now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Jenny, you're a producer on this project. How did you work with David and Rebecca in that capacity?
Well, I mean, I'm not the one that knows how to like write an application for a grant from like a Norwegian arts board or something, so that's not what I did. But in terms of creative input, I was there, while Becky was writing the screenplay. She wrote a few drafts on her own, and then when David came in, we all started to collaborate. And I mean, that's something that I've never gotten to do before, which is to just know that I will be playing the character and be there as it's being constructed, and also having to keep the whole film in mind, not just being like, I want the most lines or whatever, which that's not what I'm like, but this isn't a school play, I know that. Like counting my lines. This is over. Thank you so much. Just truly see myself like slowing to a stop. I'm like, be quiet. But no, I mean my greatest strength is as a creatively geared producer, and and so the conversations for me were about casting, were about putting together this script and also putting together our team.
So there's a really cool, you mentioned your character is an artist and is working for someone who's painting a barn, and it's this very elaborate design, I guess. How did you set that up, David, and who actually did that work?
Well, it's a real barn there, and we had a Norwegian artist who does murals in Oslo. He did the design basically, but actually I forced Jenny to paint quite a lot of it.
I wanted to.
As rehearsal and also during the shooting, basically. But then we had a little help from the artist, plus some extra hands who actually then did the real hard painting.
What did you have to do, Jenny?
I painted.
With just a roller and everything?
Yeah. I think sometimes I had to spray paint, But I also was really afraid to mess it up. It was an actual design, and the artist that created it was very, very emotional about painting this barn. And he was so happy to be there with us, and I just really didn't want to go in there as just the actress who's and just paints it. But the barn was a physical place that really did get painted as we shot. So on the day that we showed up and shot the scene where they're getting ready for the inspection and the barn is basically finished, that was the first time that I really saw it finished. And I painted in the beginning but did not do the end of it, and showed up and light was shining through, and it was standing in the middle of a very gentle sun, and it really blew me away. Yeah, and there's just pictures from that day of me standing there being
it was very,
gorgeous.
very emotional.
Very stunning, very beautiful.
Your Instagram from that entire period when you guys were shooting was just I was these pictures, they're so pretty.
Yeah. It's beautiful there and
Yeah.
fun.
Rebecca, having written the novel and then the screenplay, what do you want the story to say about sort of self-exploration and how maybe going to a very far-flung place can contribute to that?
Yeah, I hope that it just encourages people to go out in search of rapture and peace and precision. Those are things that are available to everyone, and beauty is open to all. And I hope so much that this movie inspires a sense of tranquility and hope